At the time of recording this video, the Oklahoma City Thunder surprisingly sit at tied for first in the Western Conference. And I kind of wanted to look over if they are a serious contender in the West or if there are a serious contender to win the NBA title. And if you really look at this roster, you have a lot of pieces, but you do have a lot of young pieces. Kind of missing a veteran leadership role. They did acquire Gordon Hayward recently, which, that might help, but really he doesn't really have that much playoff experience as it is. I think he went to a conference finals with the Celtics one of the years. He might have been hurt for it one of the years as well. But if you're really looking at the ins and outs of this roster, it starts with SGA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander really has taken a leap this year. He was good last year, and he's been good in previous years, but this year he's having a near MVP season. He's playing really well, really efficient, and he can just kind of do it all. And he's really becoming a superstar for this team. He's definitely the leader of this team. And, he's kind of cementing himself as one of the better players in the NBA through what he's done this year. He's a legitimate star. And I didn't really want to believe it until this year. He's really backed it up. He's a legitimate star, but a team with a good star needs good depth to be able to compete for titles. And if we look at the ins and outs of the rest of this roster, after Shai, you have Chet Holmgren, who missed all of last year, and the Thunder were still good last year, even though he missed the entire season. And watching him play, he is a good complement to Shai, as he's going to be the number 2 on this team. He's got really an interesting game where, he can shoot the long shot. He can kind of get in the post, back you down. He can sometimes beat people off the dribble. He's just long, wiry. Not to the level of Kevin Durant at this point, I would say. But if he keeps working on it, he could have actually a similar game. It's not going to be quite as explosive as Kevin Durant, but he could have a similar game because he's having just a really good year. Able to make shots, which is just key for a guy his size. And he's not as lean out there as I thought he would be. He's put on a little bit, obviously he's lean out there, but he's put on a little bit of muscle, you can see, and it's a progression thing. This is only the first year he's played, and he's playing really efficiently. Then you just look at the ins and outs of the rest of the roster. Dort is a player that has been on playoff teams before. He's been playing pretty well. I mean, he can hit shots when you need him to hit shots. He can be a good defender when you need him to be. He's just a solid guy to have. And then you have Jalen Williams. This is a guy who is really good at shooting the three as well, and he's an athletic freak. He can play really well too. So you have a roster here. It's not a bunch of kids at this point, even though it is a bunch of kids. They play like they're an older, wiser team. So they have a shot. Now, in terms of can they win the NBA title, in my opinion, I think they might be a year away. Although they could make havoc in the playoffs. They could make some sort of run to the Western Conference Finals. I could see it. I just don't see them. I don't think that they can beat Denver today. I don't think that they could beat... They could maybe beat the Clippers, but I definitely don't think they can beat Denver. That's one team that I don't think that they can beat. And I don't know if they could beat Boston. They could make it. I mean, it would be a possibility. They could possibly beat Boston, but I think their lack of playoff experience is the one thing that's going to limit them from potentially winning the title this year. But if you're really looking at this team, it's kind of like a history repeats itself kind of thing, because this is very similar, in my opinion, with this much young potential and the way that they're playing. This is similar to what Oklahoma City had back in the day with KD, Russ, and James Harden. It's not to the level of that, I'd say, but it's dang near close. You have a really good young nucleus on this team, and they need to do everything they can to make sure that this team actually becomes of something, because this could be the next NBA dynasty if there's a chance. If you're looking at the teams with the highest potential to become the next dynasty, you obviously have Denver there. You probably have to put Boston in that category, even though, I have my problems with them. And then Oklahoma City, they're right there. With how young this team is, with how good they're playing, they're going to have a shot in future years. I just think that Denver is going to be too tough for them to beat this year. Or maybe if they like go into like a veteran team, like the Suns could give them issues. Maybe now the Lakers have been playing kind of bad recently, but maybe the Lakers could give them issues just because of the playoff experience. You have to understand that there's not much playoff experience at all with this Clippers roster, with this Oklahoma City Thunder roster. But they're a team on the rise. They're legit. I think they're more legit than Minnesota. But I just think their youth is going to limit them from winning the title.